Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. First, I want to thank Maria McNair for securing this important debate, emphasising the detrimental impact of the UK welfare system on society's most vulnerable. I just want to touch upon a couple of comments from Stephen Kerr at the very outset. Stephen Kerr used the words compassionate and cruel. He also spoke about the cutting of apprenticeships and the lack of upskilling, and also highlighted that work must always pay. I think back to 1979 when his party took control in Westminster, and how many communities, including my own in Inverclyde, were absolutely decimated because it was a cruel approach that was taking place. The apprenticeships were culled, and there was certainly a lack of upskilling because the introduction, because the introduction of the YTS scheme to replace apprenticeships did not upskill.
Stephen Kerr, briefly.
Stuart McMillan deflects from my comments by referring to events that were 44 years ago. No, actually, 46 years ago. Stuart McMillan surely must reflect on the fact that this is desperation on his part to reach back so far to deflect from the valid criticisms that are being made by many outside of this chamber about his government's lack of commitment to skills training and further education.
Stuart McMillan.
I'm sorry, Mr Kerr, but the fact that my community has still not fully recovered from the decimation, Mr Kerr, it has not fully recovered.
Through the Chair, Mr McMillan, and Mr Kerr, please.
Mr Kerr, my community has not fully recovered because of the decisions taken by Mr Kerr's party in 1979. Not only my community, but the community of Maria McNair's and others in this Parliament. So the existing policy positions under consecutive Westminster governments is the polar opposite as to how benefit support should work, to lift people up when they need a helping hand, not make life harder for them. I'm therefore pleased that in Scotland we have taken a different approach to the Social Security of Scotland, and I recognise the comments from Paul O'Kane. There are some challenges there which clearly have to be worked upon. But the aspect of dignity, fairness and respect is at the heart of the organisation. An example of this is the Scottish Child Payment, which is unique to Scotland. Currently, the payment is worth £26.70 per week per eligible child. But following the passing of the budget last week, it will increase to £27.15 per week from the 1st of April. In my Greenock and Inverclyde constituency, since the Scottish Child Payment was established in 2021, over £17 million has been paid out to local families, helping them, assisting them. That's benefited 5,360 children as of December last year, demonstrating this SNP government's commitment to putting more money into people's pockets. This is very much in stark contrast to the DWP and how that operates, who seem tasked with finding any reason to deduct money from people's benefit awards. I'm going to touch upon some elements of a case that my office has been dealing with. I'm sorry, Mr O'Kane, I'm now short of time. I'm not going to, clearly not going to reveal the constituent's name or much of their case, but the individual approached me for support due to rent arrears debts. There were numerous personal circumstances that led to my constituent falling behind on the rent, many of which were out with their personal control. But they had agreed to a repayment plan with the DWP, and then the DWP penalised my constituent for missing an appointment. Once again, that was out with their control. The penalty? No universal credit payments for 80 days. I'm not going to get into all the details, but as I said, my constituent does accept that they have made some mistakes along the way. But I fail to see how this achieves anything other than making people feel more vulnerable. And for my constituent, it almost resulted in eviction, and at which point other services had to step in to provide support. Now, I firmly believe that the DWP employed, if they had employed a more caring and person-centred approach, they might have identified the acute challenges that my constituent was facing, instead of the modus operandi to treat people with suspicion, rather than view them as a human being in need of help. Now, whether colleagues, I'd imagine across the chamber, will have some similar circumstances from the DWP, I would imagine, but whether they consider it a horror story, of course, depends on their point of view. But for me, it's abundantly clear that the UK welfare system is not fit for purpose. And I echo the comments from Maria McNair to actually get all of those devolved to this Parliament. So for Labour to come into power and adopt the Tories' cruel and callous so-called welfare reforms, and in some cases perpetuate them further, in my consideration, is very much an utter betrayal. And once again, I thank Marie McNair for bringing this debate to the Chamber.